A landlord in Kentucky is frustrated as nearly 80% of his tenants haven't paid rent since the beginning of the eviction moratorium. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of Lexington, Kentucky. And it's all about the frustrations that some landlords there are feeling about the rental assistance program and everything that has to do with the eviction moratorium. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you want to see on this channel. I'm going to work to keep bringing you great articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article, it comes from lex18.com, and it says, Lexington landlords express frustration amid eviction moratorium deadline. And this is quite a story that they have in here about a landlord who really has been suffering. And I'll tell you what, man, I probably would have already sold the property if I had lost as much money as he has. But let's get into this article and I'll tell you exactly what's happening to him. In anticipation of the looming deadline on the eviction moratorium, several Lexington organizations hosted a landlord forum on Tuesday. The event was hosted and organized by the Catholic Action Center, Greater Lexington Apartment Association, Downtown Landlord Association, and Central Kentucky Housing and Homeless Initiative. Landlord Ron Johnson was one of the more than 50 people in attendance. He says the past year has been tough, frustrating, and I feel that nobody's listening, said Johnson. He says out of the 70 units he has in Lexington, 58 aren't paying, which has so far set him back around $500,000. Good Lord, okay? Good Lord, that is a lot of money, and that is a lot of tenants that aren't paying. We're talking about 58 out of 70 is nearly 83% of his tenants aren't paying rent right now. Now, I don't know exactly what kind of situation he got into, but to me, it doesn't seem likely that this is caused just by the eviction moratorium, okay? This has to do with very low quality tenants probably that are sitting in this property right now. So I will put a little bit of the blame on the eviction moratorium, knowing that they can't be evicted, but there is no way that in regular times even, that there would be this many people who aren't paying, 83% of your tenants not paying at once. Everybody says be patient. How patient do we have to be, asked Johnson. Johnson says some tenants moved out and passed keys on to outsiders without a lease. We have refrigerators and stoves. They were missing. Washers and dryers. When we get there, when they're all said and gone, we can't do anything about it. Cops didn't want to get involved in it because their hands were tied in reference to it, said Johnson. He says the whole process has left him feeling hopeless. There's nothing we can do, said Johnson. Okay, yeah, tenants are passing their keys on to other people and then letting them stay in the unit and just moving out. Not only that, but they're stealing appliances. Come on. This sounds like it's a very, very low income place, perhaps in the hood. And these are the kind of places that I don't normally deal with as a landlord, because those are the tenants that you have to deal with. And it is very, very hard to do good tenant screening when you're in the very, very low income levels, because a lot of the tenants just aren't going to be that high quality. And it would take forever to finally put in a lot of really good tenants. You do have to have good tenant screening no matter where you're at, but you have to bend your rules a little bit more when you're talking about the super low income people. And that's exactly what it sounds like is going on here, which is probably why he has 58 out of his 70 units that aren't paying right now. But even with that being the case, the eviction moratorium isn't making things better. So as soon as this moratorium is over, hopefully he goes down to the courthouse and files eviction on all of them. He's trying to navigate the rental assistance programs and says it hasn't made the situation easier. Just found out that we got paid by 2 people. We've never seen the check, said Johnson. As it turns out, there were a lot of questions from landlords on when they'll get paid at the forum. Plenty of them hashed out grievances and frustrations to Jonathan Wright, Lexington Fayette Urban County Government Director of Housing Stabilization. I do not by any means mean this is as an excuse, only an honest answer. but this is the largest social service the city has ever operated, explained Wright. So it sounds like what he's saying is what I've been saying for a while. The rental assistance program is bogged down in bureaucracy. It takes way too long, and it requires way too many, checks and balances and stipulations. And so the money isn't getting to the landlords. So a lot of landlords, because of that, they don't even want to participate. They'd much rather wait till July 31st and then go ahead, file eviction in the courts and get those tenants out of their units so that they can get someone who is paying into them, because that's easier. Then they can just sue those tenants who owe them the back rent later on. So, I feel for the landlords who are trying to go through this process to get this rental assistance so they can keep their tenants in their units, but it just isn't going to work for a lot of people. He was referring to the kinks in the rollout and technology. Starting August 1st, it'll be up to the landlords to decide whether they'll continue to work with the system, tracking down clients, having them apply, and waiting on the money, or go ahead with the eviction process. The city has more than $29 million in federal stimulus money through the Housing Stabilization Program to pay past due rent and utilities directly to landlords. They say around $4 million has been paid so far. So they've only paid $4 million out of the $29 million they've received. They've paid out almost none of it, okay? So these landlords are sitting waiting for the money, and they just haven't distributed it yet, Like I said before, bureaucracy. Johnson says he just wants people to consider landlords like him also have bills to pay. When you don't have any money, it's hard to fix up. I got code enforcement called on me, said Johnson. Some landlords got utilities in their name. They got to pay all the utilities too, so it's compounded. For those who are choosing to stick it out, the urban county government is trying to get through their cases one by one. Landlords could receive individual help at the forum and check on their application status. Man, that terrible situation for landlords to be put in. It seems to me that they just need to go ahead and file for eviction against these tenants, because it's going to take less time than trying to go through this ridiculous process for the rental assistance at this point. And at least in Lexington, Kentucky, it doesn't look like there's a state eviction moratorium in place, so they'll be free to finally get paying tenants into their units and hopefully get back on their feet financially.